I don't really see a scenario where he's not in the Cowboys uniform, but it wasn't a no. Mike is the best player in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball, I think, at least top 3. They would get for him would be astronomical.
This is a story that I'm way too familiar with. Jerry Jones playing hardball with one of his big stars, and inevitably he ends up losing. Micah Parsons' threat to the Dallas Cowboys is very real, and frankly, I can't really blame him. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop, like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications. And if you're a baseball fan, make sure you check out our baseball channel, Uni Diamond Talk. We're just starting it out and we just hit 20,000 subscribers. I'm going to leave a link to our latest video in the end screen. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, the Dallas Cowboys are having internal discussions right now. They have a huge decision that they need to make, and that discussion is whether or not they should trade Micah Parsons. Now, on the record, the Cowboys have come out and said that this isn't even a conversation that they're having, but when you take a deeper look, they may not have a choice. For those of you guys that don't remember, the Dallas Cowboys had the 31st ranked defense last year. So on one hand, trading Micah Parsons wouldn't make a lot of sense, but when you take a look at their salary cap issues, it might be the only solution they have. To give a recap of what the Cowboys did this offseason, they moved on from Mike McCarthy, and they didn't really take a big swing at a new head coach. They didn't bring in some innovative offensive mind. They promoted Brian Schottenheimer, their offensive coordinator, who helped orchestrate an offensive masterpiece that scored 20.6 points per game, which was good enough for 21st in the NFL. Now, granted, Brian Schottenheimer didn't have Dak Prescott for a majority of this year, but even when he did, it's not like the Cowboys were that much better. Jerry Jones went viral for saying the most Jerry Jones thing ever. Brian Schottenheimer is known as a career assistant. He ain't Brian no more. He is now known as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That's a real quote. I can't believe Jerry Jones thought that this would inspire Cowboy fans. Now, to be fair, the Cowboys actually had a pretty solid offseason. They traded for George Pickens from Pittsburgh, which sounds great until you realize that they gave up a 3rd and a 5th round pick for a guy who's in the final year of his rookie deal. When you take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers track record with other wide receivers that they moved on from, be it Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Martavis Bryant, Antonio Brown, there's not a lot of optimism for George Pickens and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, they also signed Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders at the running back position, which is like putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound. And Zach Martin, their Hall of Fame guard, retired. DeMarcus Lawrence went to the Seattle Seahawks and said this:
Dallas is my home. I'm forever going to be there, but I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah.
This resulted in a Twitter war between DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons would eventually address it.
Man, for me, it's all about setting the tone about what the locker room is, man. We ain't going to tolerate the dumb stuff that was going on. You know, some things are just tired. If something ain't working, it's good that you got new guys to fix it. It's just kind of hard, like when you got a bunch of guys that are here and they're older, and it's hard to get that relationship. But now we've all came in together, established this relationship. We're all around the same age, and we all hang out way more. So things like that, things that we're going to start building a camaraderie.
But look, the Cowboys did draft Tyler Booker in the 1st round to play guard, which still makes some fans feel some kind of way, because when your defense gives up 27.5 points per game, you definitely want to use a 1st round pick on an offensive lineman. Now, granted, the Cowboys' entire identity has always been their offensive line, but I can't help but feel pessimistic about the Cowboys' future, primarily because Jerry Jones has a remarkable history when it comes to extending his players. Let's start with Dak Prescott. Back in 2019, they could have extended him for probably $30 to $35 million a year. Instead, Jerry played hardball. They franchise tagged him in 2020 for $31.4 million. Then in 2021, they finally caved and gave him $160 million. But that wasn't enough. Just this past year, they extended him again for $240 million. That's $60 million a year, making him the highest paid player in NFL history. And there have been quarterbacks since that were up for contract extensions, just nobody got paid as much as Dak Prescott did. You know what Jerry should have said during these negotiations? We need the money to pay Micah Parsons. While giving Dak $250 million is a weird way to save money for Micah. Then there's CeeDee Lamb. Last August, Jerry goes on the radio and says, "I kid you not, I don't feel like we have the urgency to get it done." CeeDee Lamb literally posted LOL on social media in response, and do you know what happened? Lamb held out, missed training camp, and they ended up paying him $136 million anyway, making him the 2nd highest paid wide receiver in the league. But my personal favorite was Amari Cooper. When they traded a 1st round pick to get him from the Raiders, gave him a $100 million extension, then 2 years later traded him to Cleveland for a 5th round pick because they couldn't afford his salary. The Browns then flipped him to Buffalo Francisco and got better draft capital than Dallas got. It's like buying a Ferrari, putting spinning rims on it, and then selling it for parts. The pattern is always the same. The Dallas Cowboys wait way too long, create unnecessary drama, lose all the leverage, and then overpay anyway. Since 2019, these games have cost the Cowboys an estimated $155 to $175 million extra. They've literally burned through enough money to sign multiple Pro Bowl players just because Jerry wants to play negotiator. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The 2025 NFL salary cap is $279.2 million. The Cowboys currently have $32.1 million in cap space, which sounds like a lot until you realize that they waited too long and Micah is about to command $36 to $40 million per year. They've already restructured Dak's deal, dropping his cap hit from $89.9 million to $53.3 million. They restructured CD's deal as well, dropping it from $35.3 million to $15.3 million. But here's the thing about restructuring, you're just kicking the can down the road. It's like using a credit card to pay off another credit card. The Cowboys have about $20 million in dead money, including $16.4 million from Zach Martin's retirement. They've got Trevon Diggs counting $20.2 million against the cap, and Parsons is already costing them $24 million on his fifth-year option. Meanwhile, guess who has cap space? The Philadelphia Eagles, fresh off of their Super Bowl win, have $30.8 million available. The Washington Commanders, they've got anywhere from $21 million to possibly $63 million in effective cap space, depending on how you calculate it. And here's the beautiful part. The Commanders have Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract, making just $9.5 million. When your quarterback is that cheap, you can afford to pay a defensive superstar. Now, the reason you should feel optimistic about this is Mike has been saying all the right things. Just this June at minicamp, he said, I want to be here my whole life. I plan on building a house here and being in Dallas forever. But he also said something else that's interesting, saying it's going to cost them more. See, every time the Cowboys wait, somebody else resets the market, whether it was Max Crosby earlier this offseason and then Myles Garrett coming in and signing a $40 million contract. And Micah's agent definitely knows this. In fact, when Jerry Jones tried to negotiate directly with Parsons and said he didn't even know the agent's name, Parsons went on social media and said, there's no one I trust more when it comes to negotiating contracts than David. There will be no backdoors in this contract negotiation. Translation, Jerry, you're not pulling the same stuff that you've tried to pull in the past. Now, here's what's really telling though. Jerry Jones admitted this past month that he hadn't talked to Parsons in 4 to 5 weeks. So what are the Cowboys' options? A lot of these options are kind of crazy because it involves division rivals, but seeing what the Eagles pulled off with Saquon Barkley last year, nothing really surprises me anymore. So let's talk about the nuclear option. Micah Parsons goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. The reason I'm saying this is a possibility is because Micah is actually from Pennsylvania. He roots for the Phillies and the Philadelphia 76ers. He went to Penn State for college, and the Eagles just had maybe the most dominant playoff run in NFL history. They scored 145 points in 4 playoff games. Saquon Barkley, who the Cowboys could have signed if they managed their salary cap properly, rushed for over 2,000 yards. They've got a quarterback in Jalen Hurts who signed long-term, a receiving core that's elite and paid fairly, and a defense that's just missing, wait for it, an elite pass rusher. Imagine Parsons in midnight green coming off the edge in that defense right next to Jalen Carter. The Cowboys would have to face him twice a year, and Jerry Jones would have to watch him sack Dak Prescott in primetime. It would be the most painful thing to happen to Cowboys fans since not making it to the NFC Championship game for the past 29 years. Here's an option that might actually make sense. Washington. And I know what you might be thinking. Washington, really? Well, Dan Quinn was Parsons' defensive coordinator for his first 3 seasons. Under Quinn, Parsons has 40.5 sacks, 51 tackles for a loss, and led the NFL in pass rush win rate all 3 years. When Quinn left for Washington, Parsons called it devastating and referred to Dan Quinn as his OG. Even Kevin Durant was trying to recruit Micah Parsons to Washington.
I think he will be a commander at some point in his career. I would say 2 years.
Yo, I only rock with Dan Quinn, you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's all he needed.
But you have to understand what happens to the Cowboys if they do lose Parsons. Let me paint you a picture of the 2024 Cowboys defense. And remember, this is with Parsons playing 13 games despite injury, 468 total points allowed, 6,039 yards allowed, the worst red zone defense in the NFL. And they set an NFL record trailing by 20 plus points in 6 straight home games. Now imagine that defense without Micah Parsons. In the 4 games that he missed due to injury, the Cowboys went 1-3. They gave up 34 points to San Francisco, 27 to Atlanta, 34 to Houston, and 26 to Washington. That's an average average of 30.3 points per game. Now, Parsons isn't just a pass rusher. You could place Micah Parsons in multiple areas on the defense and he'll succeed. He's made the Pro Bowl all 4 years. He's got double-digit sacks in all 4 seasons, joining Reggie White, Derek Thomas, and Dwight Freeney as the only players to ever do that. Trading him wouldn't just be losing a player, it would be admitting defeat. It would be the Cowboys saying,
yeah, we can't figure this out, so here's our best player.
So what would it actually take to get Micah Parsons? Well, according to Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson, we're talking a minimum of 3 first-round picks. Minimum. For context, the LA Rams offered the Carolina Panthers 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns before they infamously shut that down and traded him for way less 15 months later. Khalil Mack was traded for 2 first-round picks, but Parsons is 25 years old, in his prime, and better than both of those guys. We're talking about 3 first-round picks, a second, and maybe a player. From the Eagles, that could mean their 2025 first, probably late 20s because I'm assuming they're going to be Super Bowl contenders again, their 2026 first, and their 2027 first, and maybe a player like Nakobe Dean or Jordan Davis. That's a haul that could help the Dallas Cowboys rebuild. From Washington, with Jaden Daniels on a rookie deal, they could offer something similar, plus maybe throw in a young defensive player who could thrive in Dallas's system. But here's the thing, draft picks are lottery tickets. Parsons is a winning Powerball number. You already cashed. You don't trade certainty for possibility when you're trying to win now. Except, maybe the Cowboys aren't trying to win now. So what are some more realistic teams that could trade for Micah Parsons? Well, the LA Chargers have $26 million in cap space, and they just moved on from Joey Bosa. Under Jim Harbaugh, they're trying to build something special, and Parsons' versatility would fit in perfectly in LA. The Seattle Seahawks have over $31 million in cap space and are missing that elite pass rusher. They've got a solid roster, but they do need a game-changing defensive player to put them over the top. So what's most likely going to happen with Micah Parsons? Well, there's really only 2 options. First option is Jerry caves and gives Micah $200 million, making him the highest paid defensive player ever. By then, the damage is done. The relationship is strained, Parsons missed valuable camp time, and the Cowboys are even tighter against the cap. Option 2 is Jerry actually does it. He trades Micah Parsons to Philadelphia, Washington, or any other team, convincing himself that he's being smart about the cap. Cowboys fans get pissed off, season ticket holders burn their jerseys, and for the next decade, they watch Parsons dominate while wearing enemy colors. Either way, I hate to admit this, because I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, the Cowboys lose, because quite simply, that's just what they do.